Howdy, and welcome to the Roundtable for Red Dirt D&D. I'm Michael Cross.
Konnor Shenold.
Johnny Payne.
Kiri Esther.
Brooke Bullock.
And Ash King.
That's right, and we are going to be talking about episodes 109 through 111 and the exciting things that happened and all the cool stuff that went on in 109 where we headed out of the catacombs. We finally made it out.
Yes. I love that moment we get out and then, you know, like Black Rock is before us in the distance. Like there was just, I could just cinematically see it. I really liked it.
Yeah.
But we can't actually see it because then we spend like a solid 10 to 15 minutes trying to decide how far away is Black Rock? How far away are the mountains?
It's like the mountains, yes. You can see them, and then this thing, and you think, oh, that's not too far. And then you're like, and we're walking. How far is that?
Because Gaz is like, oh, we don't need to rest because it's hot in the desert. And I'm just sitting there thinking, Gaz, we've been in the desert this whole time. It's always hot.
That's right. We're used
we
to
always
it. We're
rest in the
acclimated.
hot. It's hot, we rest.
Makrin wasn't deterred at all.
Most desert cultures do have that long siesta time.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I love that moment that when we rest. This
Yes.
goes back into the past episodes, but that moment when we did decide to take a long rest during the day, and you brought that up. That hey, this is the time when most societies, most of Shada just kind of quiets down because it's the heat of the day.
Yeah. Was that before we went into the catacombs?
That was before. Because
That was way before. Yeah. But
we were gonna go into the catacombs at like 4 a.m. because I had useless spells and needed a long rest.
need a long rest.
I love you, but you always say that you're better. None of your spells are useless.
No, but they're not equipped for the specific task at hand.
Right. And that does matter.
Yeah.
That does
I
matter.
thought we were camping, so I did all my summon food spells. I didn't know we'd be fighting. I had no healing or damage spells.
You
Okay.
always pack the fighting spells.
Before
Always
we get
clear
into the talking about the episodes, I do want to mention a big thank you to New World Comic Con. This is for us the day after New World Comic Con, and
So CP.
the wonderful people that stopped by, some who had never heard of us.
Yes.
And
Hopefully you're listening now.
that's right, and because we do have a lot, I think we do have a lot of new listeners who are interested, and I had a lot of fans. Thank you so much to Ryan Rudbach who came in, listening from experience. Dunick was a volunteer there, so he had to be there.
We got to see him in passing.
Yes, he did come by as we were setting up the table, but it was a great day.
He was
Nice.
Guardians of the Hallway with a friend of the show, Greg O.
Yes,
Nice.
and love seeing Greg there. Took some pictures. We did actually. Those are on our Discord server. Hey, you become a Patreon member, you could actually see those pictures that we put on our page. And we're having so much great discussion with our patrons. It's so much fun.
It was a lot of fun to connect, especially again with those patrons who we had never met before, and so we got to meet them, got to meet some of their amazing family members. So
And there were more signatures, autographs that you guys did on a bandana.
Yeah, Rublock
Nice.
brought his bandana that we had sent to him as his special Patreon 2-year birthday gift.
Yes.
And he was like, hey, I want you guys to sign this. And I was like, I'm so glad I brought my entire DM kit with a Sharpie.
That's awesome.
So-
That's really cool.
But yeah, so he's like, and it's just going to be one of those things where I'll just have to go to other events that you guys are at to
Yeah.
try and get the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
And
Yeah.
we will be
It's
doing
gonna
many
be
more
fun.
events. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sick, so
In other
And
news,
Twisted.
I wasn't there because I was at home dying.
Poppy sounds interesting in 112 through 114.
It's because Kiri is dying.
You know, we were down in the catacombs, and you come back out into the heat.
Listen,
You
we've
just gotta
talked
have
about
that
this
thing
before.
happen.
The last time Poppy was sick, we were in the cave looking for the flight crystals.
mold allergy.
She's just not an underground halfling at all.
No, she's an open air halfling because it was it's been 110 plus here in Oklahoma for the last 5 weeks, and then it finally
The
we had a
temperature
cold
plummeted.
front move through on Friday, and it has made me stuffy.
At your next level, take a point in Constitution. Not Poppy, Kiri.
Couldn't it be great if we could all do that?
that's
I
Right.
wish.
So,
When's my next ASI?
Yeah.
on that note, though, my Poppy's low constitution comes into play in 112, and we can't talk about that yet.
Yeah.
But now you know to listen for it and how her bad constitution does not help her. She does. It's not a negative. It is at least a +1. She's a +1 in con, but she ain't no dwarf.
Yeah.
Nor my barbarian. He's got
Nor
a high
barbarian.
constitution. It's his dexterity that's a little low. So we are going to be doing more events. We do know coming up, we'll be doing the Miracle Con.
Yes.
Yes.
Hopefully we saw you
Which
there by
is
the time
my
you listen to this.
birthday.
What's the date on that?
August 27th. So
August
technically the day
27th.
before my birthday. But if you
So
went
bring
to,
tribute.
yes.
Yes.
Last year Token Con was on my birthday. This year it's Miracle Con that's on my birthday. So
So everyone come out and join us at Miracle Con. It's
I
gonna
like
be a blast.
candy. I'll
Those
share
of you
with
in the
the
future
group.
know if anybody brought anything already.
That's true. We've had a really great time. There's been a lot of people who've been part of the Patreon group for the entire time we've been running. We did, of course, last month celebrate our 2-year anniversary. We broke 50,000 downloads,
Amazing.
which
That was so much fun.
And-
Mind is still blown.
yeah. And by the time I did, we were at New World Comic Con. We'd actually broken 51,000.
Nice.
So I was able to kind of tell people that we had broken, we've been around for 2 years. We've had more than 51,000 downloads. The funny thing is, a lot of them looked at me like Kirk in Star Trek 4. Is that a lot? and I almost want to go, I have no idea.
Yeah, it was one of those things like when we were just talking to normal people and like, oh yeah, 50,000 downloads. They did give us that eyeball of like, is that a lot?
Yeah.
But then there would be other people who like they were also like podcasters or like
Yeah.
adjacent to podcasts. We're like, 50,000 downloads. They're like, oh my gosh, good job, guys.
And for a small, no budget podcast, actual play podcast, more than 50,000 in 2 years is really good. There's others that have done, but they've usually got famous people that they're already bringing in. They've had
They've
other
already got Twitter
podcasts.
Ours has
following.
famous people.
To the tagline, it is you guys out
We are
there.
now.
Yeah, to the tagline, it is you guys out there that are helping us grow up big and strong.
Yeah.
Like without you patrons and other people, it's just we just couldn't start to have some magic happening.
Yeah. So episode 109. Again, we got out of the catacombs and started heading toward Blackrock.
West.
Yeah, started heading west out of Shada.
That was such a fantastic moment when we get there, and the description of like kind of this skull mountain looking outcropping cave thing.
Yes, I loved that.
That was great. Ash, can you pull back the curtain? What was the tripwire at the front of that?
Oh yeah, what would have happened?
Oh yeah, so basically they had like a little avalanche like setup.
Oh,
So it was
nice.
going to be one of those things where, like, if you had missed the tripwire and had, like, stumbled over it, rocks fall, everybody would have died.
Yeah.
Kiri, the player, I think it was Kiri, did a really good job of going, hey, remember the tripwire on the way out.
That's right. Well, it was Kiri who found it. Turning into the bird.
Exactly.
That was
It was
genius.
Zonomus's suggestion that she mouse, or in this case, Robin.
Yeah. I did like the idea of, you could go ahead and turn into a mouse. I think we would beat the mouse.
We'll turn into an inconspicuous tiny bird, a little
But
bird.
it was perfect. It was perfect, and was able to see everything, including the baddie that was waiting for us.
Who was just killing time.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I don't know why.
Is he a
'cause
fighting guy? And Ash says, well, he's real big. He's got a really cool weapon.
Yeah, I don't know. You had, after I listened to it again, it's like you had clearly stated that this is obviously a major person,
Yeah.
major player. I took it
We
for some
still
reason.
thought he was a guard.
Yes.
Just some beefy thug guard.
Y'all
just a
need
big-
to listen to Ash
Well,
when they talk
I do,
because
but for some reason, even after the description, because then when I listened to it over again, it was very clear that you had said it, and so they'd given us the description that this is an important person, but in my brain the entire time I was like, no, this is just some
It's
dude.
just some guard.
Yeah, I think
dude.
it was the casualness
yeah.
with which he was, it's like I described him as sitting there kind of casually and just like waiting,
Yeah.
bored,
Drawing on the dirt with a stick.
drawing.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
actually, that
Playing
was a secret. That was a
tic-tac-toe.
secret Xena reference. There's an episode where she's like, she's like kidnapped. It's back in like her warlord days, where she like kidnapped this noble kid and is like waiting for the ransom, and she's like sitting there playing tic-tac-toe with herself in the dirt. Shout out to all my '90s kids, but
So we took casualness
Yeah.
as in like, oh, he's a guard,
Yeah, it's just a
he's
guard.
bored.
He's bored.
And not if casualness is like, I am so confident about myself that I don't really care.
and then he just comes out like you're like, okay, we're gonna take him down. And he just comes out of the gate swinging
Yeah.
with
That
the
flail-
legendary actions
Oh.
and.
Mokrin kind of wants to keep the flail. I mean, I know
It's
we
super
I wanted
evil.
to keep it. Oh.
And it's also powerless right now.
Right.
Yes, but it still
Yeah.
would have 3 hits as you swung it around. Like,
And
Yeah.
we gave
Doesn't
it
it
to
actually-
the gnolls.
And doesn't it actually say in the monsters manual that the flines or volos or wherever you get the fline that the flail is not usable by any player?
Yeah.
because of how incredibly powerful it cannot be just picked up by another player.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things where like it doesn't necessarily have a described magical weapon thing. Like it's obviously a magical weapon, but it's one of those things where it's like, you kind of have to think about it in the terms of like this was gifted to the Flynd by Yinogu.
Right.
And so it's like, yeah, even if a player picks it up, like Yinogu is just gonna be like, nah, you can't
Yeah.
use it anymore.
I love
it
the
turns
flavor.
to dust.
I love
Yeah.
the flavor text of that in the same way that like a cleric or a paladin's holy symbol gets imbued with power kind of through the prayer that this weapon, when it's no longer being held by the devotee that it fades. The power of it fades.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was cool. It was a good gift to give back to Clan Redmaw because a little bit of evidence and proof of, hey, there was real trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did get a long rest before we did actually battle, which was kind of nice.
It was very nice.
Speaking of, I think it's at this moment, a little bit of PC chat debate. When we turn in the flail and we talk about Soren, when it's not quite Zifra, is that the
Sinstra's
mistress?
mom.
Sintra's
the
mom.
red, the Red Maw, the Red
Red
Maw
Maw
clan
leader.
leader.
Zira.
She says something like, "Thank you for my, returning my wayward brother," or it's just this. And I'm wondering, is brother figurative, or was that truly like we shared a parent
No,
relationship?
it was literal.
Yeah, I figured
Okay.
it was.
was
I thought it
literal.
was too, but there's a little bit of
Yeah.
debate. So Soren might have been connected then that way, right?
I kind of was like, it was just one of those things that, so the secret story, for those who are paying attention, the secret story in Shada is that there obviously was this group of young bloods who were in Shada trying to destabilize the power base of Clan Redmaw, and again, asking myself like, who would be the person who would really want to do that? And so I was like, okay, so Soren is this Flynd who is the leader of this particular group of young bloods, and I was like, what would be at least more interesting from a story standpoint than like this is literally the older brother of the current leader who got passed over because of his gender.
Yeah.
So it's like he wasn't going to be allowed to, be a ruler or whatever. There was some sort of falling out there that, he thought he could do a better job than his sister, but it's like, oh no, you can't do that because you're a boy, and that kind of caused his fall.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end.
untold story here.
We're coming to the end of the first 15 minutes.
Oh,
So
that's the kind of lore
we've
dump
got-
you usually get in the second 15.
That is.
Right?
And we do have a
Thursdays
lot
is free.
more. In fact, I know that Brooke has a lot of questions and things that we want to go over in the second half.
got a
So if you want to hear that, you have to become a Patreon member right now. Just go to patreon.com/reddirtdnd because we are putting the full version of this on our Patreon site. We'd love to have you become a Patreon member and enjoy all of the benefits you get. You get the episodes 4 days early, of course, the full roundtable. You get access to our Discord server and lots of other things depending on your level. So please check us out at patreon.com/reddirtdnd. We'll see you in a bit. We're going to go to the full version of the roundtable right now.